Hello, everybody. Marguerita here. Welcome to the Authentic Podcast. And today I have the beautiful Bernie Giggins with us. And this is going to be a cracker of a podcast today because Bernie is a transformational life coach specializing in inner child coaching. She helps individuals break free and heal from the pain of past narcissistic relationships, childhood bullying and trauma to step into their truest selves. Having experienced these challenges firsthand within her own large Catholic family upbringing, she has transformed her own dysfunctional patterns of people-pleasing and survival response into self-love and freedom. Bernie's mission is to guide you through unlearning habits that no longer serve you and creating a life rooted in compassion, creativity, and confidence. So Bernie has authored several books. One is Heal: How to Overcome Bullying, Burnout, Abuse, and Neglect. She's published 2 hardcover journals, one for gratitude and one for grief, and has a self-love affirmations book for women, all on Kindle. Bernie is married, has 3 children and 9 grandchildren. Gosh, how are you still awake? And encourages caravanning and sailing trips with loved ones. Welcome, beautiful Bernie. It is so lovely to have you here.
Thank you so very much for having me here, Marguerita. I'm being so excited about this.
Lovely. Well, I can't wait to get your message out to all this lovely audience. So the first thing I want to ask you is, what does authenticity mean to you?
So authenticity to me is being true to your own self, true to your needs, true to your heart. What does your heart want? Being in life the way you want to be in life. But where I come into it is, how can I be true to myself when I have all the old beliefs, all the old memories that are repeating stories? And so I am a puppet for those old things. I've come out of it. I'm just going, oh my God, I have been in this story. It's like being an actress in a story that's not you. The story is still repeating from the childhood. Now with the authenticity, speaking my truth in every way, living my truth, living the life I love and love the life I live has been the major thing with it all.
Wow, I love that. That's something that I sort of focus on as well. So, and in relation to that, so, you've already mentioned a little bit how that shows up in your work. How do you see that has changed your life, being able to live your true authentic self, and also how the work that you do helps others to do the same so they can live in their authentic truth, and how it then impacts them in their lives and how they get to create their future lives?
Well, with trauma, nobody knows underneath how you're going to come out of it. A trauma response, you could be in fight, you could be in flight, you could be in freeze, and you can be in fawn. Without realizing it, I was in freeze and fawn for most of those years, if it's a trauma response. But if I was standing up for somebody else, I would go into fight. I could not stand conflict. I was a total people pleaser, a chameleon. But when I had to stand up, I would be the big fighter. I would be mother bear for somebody else, not realizing I wasn't protected as a child. So my inner child was actually protecting other people. I would, and like I said, I do not like being confronted. But anybody else who's being bullied, I will be there for them. And over time, realizing, oh my God, I don't like it. How am I getting this? How am I turning into it? How am I showing up? It's the nervous system turns up into that trauma response, which is protecting other people. And then realizing, well, okay, so after, where was I not protected? And then doing my own shadow work, going into my own, in my own childhood, teenage years as well. It's not just childhood, but understanding that story, that that you could, it's just a template, and it happened here and it happened here, and I turn into here. I default into these old things. understanding the default was protection, to keep me safe, to keep me alive, protected no matter what. And now when you understand it and you go back, oh, thank you so very much, but I am the adult. What do I need to how can I reparent myself? What didn't I have back then that I'm giving to everybody else? How can I give that to my own self now? So it's just arching over the whole lot, but seeing how what I'm actually doing here has started at some stage in my life. And it's just a template. And then I turn into, it could be I'm hearing something, it comes here through the senses to trigger, trigger things. Triggers remind you, return into, default into. Yeah. And I just look back and I'm just going, didn't like that, but oh my god, I am who I am today because of all those sorts of things. I own it. I'm very proud of it now. My inner child or my trauma response was saying you're hopeless, you're powerless, you can't ever do this, and meanwhile you keep moving along. Your spirit, your heart, your spirit is mainly the thing that is actually, you've got something better, you can do this, you can change that. It's allowing you connecting to your higher self. It's just a story. Like I said, the template is the pattern. How did the triggers, there's quite a few little different things in there, but just being able to change that, and the lives that change in the process for the clients that come through. My own family, my children, every time I change it, I can see the changes coming out in my grandkids. If I had that as my childhood, this is how it's coming out and showing in my kids. And I was going, wow, that's amazing. So it's me clearing it, but I'm also then witnessing it on the outside. Cycle complete, circle complete.
So you're actually changing it for future generations.
Absolutely.
Wow,
Because
that's pretty cool.
I took on what my parents, I was fighting or still in my mind with it all. But young, you never had a voice. You could never resolve it. You could never. Have you ever tried to go back? I did. I did, and I got smacked down. This is how I felt when I was, as a kid, and then mum was just whatever, you know. But that was my truth. That was her truth, as I was going through it. She couldn't understand it, but it's being able to, you know, let myself clear it, change it, take it to the next level.
So I want to go back because you said flight, fight, freeze, and fawn. Is that
Yes.
what's the fourth one? I've never heard of the fourth one.
Fawn is the one that is the deepest survival of all of them. You will turn into you'll be the chameleon. You fit in everywhere. You blend in. You're the secret agent who blends in,
Oh,
because you are so fearful of something. So you become whatever. So fight, you'll punch, you'll do whatever as a little kid. Fight. Flight, you want to run away. Freeze is like you can't do anything at all. But if you've already gone through all of those things and you're still getting trauma stuff happening as a little kid, you end up going further back into fawn. So fawn becomes the biggest people pleaser. What can I do? I need to survive. It's, when I was reading about it, I'm going, oh, that makes me sick. But it's like, oh my God, that's my trauma response. Did that to keep me alive, do whatever I needed to do, help everybody else, but stay in the background, stay small, stay tethered. Tethered. This is all I'm allowed to have. This is all I'm allowed to do. This is all I'm allowed to afford. And it stays in that fawn space. And again, it was a thing to keep me alive and survive from stuff. And then when you can actually relate it back
mm.
and then clear it, then you become more authentic. Actually, why am I doing this? Because you turn into, people, they call it the brown noses. But when you're looking at it, you go, I had to do that. If I didn't, I would die.
Gosh.
I would not be fed. I would be bashed. I would be. So
Yeah,
your
as
little
a survival
self
mechanism.
has
Out of
automatically
all
gone into
four,
it.
which one do you find is the most common? Are they kind of evenly spread, or do you find one more common than the other?
The trauma response that I deal with most with my clients is the fawn. It's freeze fawn, but more the fawn. The fawn is all about, it is absolute survival. I will turn into whatever it is to survive. People pleasing, chameleon, those types of things. Have every mask on. Not really, on the outside it's a happy mask, on the inside it's really, oh my God, it's connected to the nervous system. So if it senses anything out of place, all of a sudden it takes over. You become what you need to become. And it's really when you can realize that is the freedom and the liberation and compassion. The reason why I turn into this is because such and such. And when you're clearing that shadow starts then trusting you. It does not trust that you're going to survive. It still thinks that you are 5 years, 3 years, whatever it is. And so it is always on alert, high alert. If you can think about the nervous system is like a spider web, like a web, and you touch something, you just, oh my God, immediately takes over. Freeze is fine because you usually can't think of stuff. But the fawn is, I would turn into, it's like it's really like almost like a zombie, or I call it like a puppet. I just become a puppet of, people that trigger. I'll keep creating the same, over time through patterns. As I said, I'd stand up to anybody, but as a normal fawn, you just do not. But if somebody is doing something to somebody else that is similar to my stuff, I can become the best fighter. My mouth will go off. I will just, don't you ever touch such and such. And then when it's finished and gone, you go, what just took over me? That's your protective trauma response. Once you are free of that, liberated from it, it is, thank you so very much, but now I am the adult. You can trust me. You can trust that I will do what I need to do. I can see that I'm so strong. I can see that I have such foresight and stuff like that. But it's understanding and be able to be releasing myself from this protective. A lot of people take it to their deathbed, and it's just like the people that are waking up, the people that I'm working with, going back and, who do they have to, some of the questions that we ask different people is, there's 7 questions that I usually say when we're starting to go through it. I'll just tell you some of them. And it is, who do you have to become, whatever you want to become? Who do you have to convince? Who do you have to explain to if you fail? Whose face do you see? Whose voice do you hear? What emotional reason is stopping you? Whose approval are you seeking? And those types of words is like, oh my God, it's my uncle. Oh, and it's like, and then you start freaking out, but you need a safe space, somebody who knows what's going to happen, to be able to release you from that grip of that web, to take a breath and be fully into spirit. This trauma response is there, but your spirit is going, but I've got this for you. This is where we're going. This is where I need you to be.
I think that's one of the biggest skill sets of a really effective therapist or healer, or is that ability. Like, we have our techniques and our protocols and our processes that we walk people through, but it's the ability to hold that safe space for people so they can go where they need to go. I think that is one of the most valuable and the most understated skill sets of a really good practitioner, is that ability to give somebody the space to be able to just release that trauma that they probably didn't even know was there. And I want to go a bit deeper into that, but
Mm.
can you explain, because you've mentioned shadow work a few times now, can you explain what you mean by shadow work? Because it's so often referred to, but it's a little bit of it's a little bit of an industry word, really. So what does
Mm.
shadow work mean?
Okay, to me, shadow work um, is what I've turned into something to be in the world, and people did not like. They didn't accept stuff. They didn't like a certain way. So you start to survive, you start turning into, or you start, oh, no, they don't like that. Oh, okay, so I'll change. So I'm really not authentic. If I was authentic, they didn't like it. So it was like, shut down, shut down. So to survive, I would, okay, so I have to turn into this to be accepted, to be in a group, to belong, without realizing, then that is for the rest of your life.
So
It's
you're saying that
allowed,
that's your shadow self. It's your altered self. Just correct me if I'm
yeah,
wrong, but it's like that's your altered self, like your alter ego that is
yeah,
responding in a way that it has learnt to adapt and survive according to the trauma that it experienced. Is that what you're saying?
yeah. Yeah. And then your shadow self will come out every now. Your shadow self will turn up when you're fully drunk, when you are drugged, when you are, and it's like, oh my God, and how many of us we go, oh my God, that was the most embarrassing thing. But actually, that was your truth. But it takes to drink excess or whatever it is, because that is my truth. But if I wasn't drunk, I would never say it. So if you can,
So,
rather than being, yeah,
so your shadow
sorry.
self is your true self, or your shadow self is your trauma response self?
Both. There is a true self underneath. Actually, I don't like these people. Really? And it's getting to know that, because there's gold is in the shadow. And it's like, if I could bring some of those, how strong I am when I actually stand up for somebody else. And my normal day-to-day life, I don't like confrontation. Oh my God, I pull myself back. But I look at different things in the past, and my shadow is actually stands up. That's the one that actually comes forward and goes, I was hurt. I've learnt to hold myself back, but nobody else is allowed to hurt anybody else. So we become to other people what we never had. But if you can find the
So
gold
you
in
become
that
the advocate. You become the
yeah.
advocate. Yeah.
But over time, you've got to find it, because you just all of a sudden turn into such and such, and then it goes away, and it's like that's your shadows. But it's called holding its space. I'm how protective I was, or actually really how strong I am, because I tell myself I'm not strong. I tell myself I'm really hopeless. I'll never do such and such. Whereas that shadow, when I see the spirit's shadow, the good side of it is like, holy hell. Oh my God, all the things that they stood up for, they advocated for, they took the they took the the bullet for so many people, and then you retreat back into your old self, and it's like to your day-to-day self. But if you can
Mm.
find the gold in the shadow and bring that forward, there's a lot of truth in it. You have to also then what do how it's coming out, the shadow part, is how can I use that to my advantage now? Instead of going back, and that shadow is getting into trouble, that shadow is attracting all the wrong people, it's in the wrong relationships. How can I, as a sacred observer, how can I use that? There's a lot of things that don't need to go forward. So if I'm doing it myself. I'm with a therapist, as you really have to do it with a therapist, whatever therapy it is, because your brain, your trauma brain, is so powerful. It will never allow you to go into your own self because it's so painful. But I can help so many other people. But if you can just slowly do your own shadow work, you can take people so much further, because you've already been there. You know what it
Mm.
feels like to get to there, and that's why I'm able to hold the space. Hey, there's a little bit more there. There's something else in behind there. What else is here? Who else is here? Who else is blocking you? It's not just you. Who is saying that to you? Who is still saying it to you in your mindset? And the other part is who, who who do they remind you of, for a start? Whatever's happening here, who do they remind you of? And you're doing that shadow work. Who am I still afraid of when I'm actually really not? So that's where your true authenticity starts coming through. And actually, I did the best I possibly could. I became that. And the other part of it is, who am I now because of that trauma? That trauma doesn't have to stay there anymore. How can I bring that into my space? How can I bring that inner child? How can I bring that innocence back and then start moving, helping, contributing, sharing with other people as well, changing my story.
Yeah, so it's all about people taking their power back. And I just want to take this back to the simplest possible explanation for people so they can really understand the depth of the work. Because obviously the work that you do is incredibly deep and facilitating and freeing. And most of us, like every single one of us, have experienced trauma of some kind, one way or another. And sometimes it's even the most innocent things that can cause trauma and limiting decisions that we then operate from continually for the rest of our lives. And we don't even realize that we're operating from a place of learned trauma and a trauma response. So, there's a great story that I heard many years ago, not a client that I was working with, but it's just so demonstrative of the way the brain works. Of this grandmother used to love throwing up her grandchild, baby boy, in the air and catching him. Anyway, she's throwing him up in the air this day, and she slipped and she dropped him. And Mum was there. The grandma, they've scooped the baby up. They've rushed the baby to hospital. Baby's fine, but they had all the tests done and everything else. Now, years later, after this boy becomes man, is going through multiple dysfunctional relationships, can't keep a female relationship going.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going through this therapy. And what eventually comes out is this thing that happened when he was 2 that he didn't even remember until he goes into therapy. And the 2 decisions he made were, you can't trust women, and the people you love the most will hurt you.
Yeah.
And let you down. And this is the decision that the subconscious brain has made due to the trauma that was completely it wasn't deliberate, it was an accident, and the baby was fine. So and these things that could be completely innocent things in our lives then create this trauma response. So when people come to you, do you find that people come to you because they just find that their lives aren't working, that everything's dysfunctional, they can't seem to have the relationship that they want or get the results that they want? When do you find people seek you out?
They've tried everything. If you read what they've done, because I will write, what have you done before? How have you tried to resolve this before? And they have tried many, many, and many years, not just 1 or 2. It's like over several years, but they're still getting the same results. Like, I'm going for this, but I only ever get this. What is going on? There must be something wrong with me. Like, can you help me? But it's what the results that they are getting is what is true for them. It's protecting them. It's keeping them small, whatever, like you just said. What decision in that split second, in that, it could be like that accident, or it could be over several times. But what did they take on in that split second that's still running, that's still a program underneath? How can, but the results that they're getting, I'm going for this, but I'm only getting this. It's find out why. Because you are getting what you are meant to get by your trauma response, by your brain. and then they come and they go, oh, wow. Oh, I didn't realize that. The body remembers everything. Going through the results, think about, where has this happened before? Because it hasn't happened just once. And it happened last year. 10 years ago. So there's a pattern all happening. I used to always, pick the bully bosses, I'm just going, narcissistic people, bully bosses. And then when you have a look at it, who's the common denominator? It was me. And I'm just going, that's hard, that harsh. But it's like, okay, rightio, I asked for it. So why am I the magnet? And then going, it's just going over and having a look and finding the right people to help as well, to help you out, because it's just a web of all of it all done together. But what did I take on? What did I make it mean about me? What is still creating it? This tethered thing that I keep talking about. It's, this is all I'm allowed to have. Don't go any further, because if I step out, no one's around on a big farm and there's nobody around, and it's only these abusers there. Parents don't, and it's only little. These parents don't believe, because they would never do that. You can hear that today in today's language as well. But it's like, it did happen. It is true. Speaking my voice, but how can my little self resolve it? How can my little self speak up and say it? There's a really good one as well. They say it today. We've just been through a court case, which we won for a narcissistic. But, going through that court case, I'm just going, wow, why would people do it? Because it's, the defense lawyers go against you, attack you again. In this beautiful, open, loving, no judgment, no criticism. It's just the soul, the inner child, the body opening up into that safe space. What did they need to say? If you could go back, because like I said, I tried it. I thought I was supposed to be speak your truth to your parents. But if you could go back and say, actually, by you doing this is how it's impacted my life. Do you realize? And then holding that, you go, oh, wow, this little child has held me back because it's still sitting in there. How has it impacted? We used to get, what does it cost me? But asking, how has this impacted my life? But actually saying that to the perpetrator in your mind space, in safe space, that you're speaking age to age, soul to soul. It's really... it's almost like, oh wow, I finally got it out of my chest. But realizing how that's created, that is the freedom, that's the liberation, that you could actually speak to the perpetrator, not on human levels, not in the courtroom, but that's my truth to your truth. You've got no idea, but I'm the one who keeps carrying it. Now I'm giving it back. I'm handing it, taking a breath, cutting cords, doing the spiritual side of things. And then the soul goes circle complete, next opportunity, next potential, etc., etc. That's when you, on a soul level, are speaking it, connecting to your higher self, releasing it, resolving it, so it doesn't have to, okay, well, I'll create another drama, I'll create another relationship, and after so many years, exactly this, I'm still where I was, years ago. It's like a cookie
So do you
cutter.
find that people create the same cycle and the same pattern because the soul is yearning for the healing? So it's
Yeah.
creating the similar situations because it's like, you have to resolve this, you have to heal this. And most people, they don't understand
Yeah.
the power of the cycle, so that we tend to attract the same kind of perpetrators into our
Yes.
lives. We tend to
Yeah.
attract the same kind of situations. We tend to have, whether we have a boom bust cycle or these different cycles that continually run in our lives. Is that how you see it playing out. It's kind of, it will continue to play out, and you will not be able to break the cycle until you do something to actually leave that in the past so you can move
Yes.
on.
Yeah. Because you are reparenting your little self. Your little self is still sitting there. It's like, frozen in time. He said, she
Yep.
said, I'm still here. And and this is going to play out at a certain level until I wake up and go, it's these males, it's these females, it's these narcissistic people. If I could just go, oh, they are my teacher. What did they remind me of? Keep it going back. But I'm still, myself, my younger self is still stuck there. How instead of blaming outside
You're
and looking
almost
at it,
like frozen in time, really.
yeah,
So your
yes,
younger self is kind of frozen in time, and it's like a kind of Groundhog Day, really.
oh,
That it
absolutely,
will, because it does not know how to resolve, it does not know how to heal that. It continues to create the cycle and come back into this Groundhog Day. And
yeah,
often we are unconscious
mm,
of the deliberateness of the cycle. And as you said, we are the common denominator. So,
yeah,
and we are the ones who are perpetuating and co-creating everything actually for our benefit. But
yeah,
often we just, do you find the same thing, that often the vast majority of people, without this kind of understanding, they think it's all their fault. They think it's all out there. It's kind of like, well,
yeah,
there are no nice men in the world because I can't find them.
yeah,
No, you're attracting the same kind of guy, love, because you've got this you've got this little inner child who's still stuck
mm,
frozen in time and wants to get unstuck. Am I on the money?
yeah. Oh, yeah. How many women cannot find the right person? And when you go down to the bottom of it, they're still trying to prove that they're lovable to their father, to a father figure, and so they're doing that without realizing it. At the end of it, they walk away, they do whatever, and it's exactly the same as what their father did, or their mother did, whatever it is. It's like at the end of whatever the relationship is, they are still going to be hurt, shattered, let down, shut down, and then they go, I'll never do that again until the next time. Like,
Yeah.
until the next time,
Yeah.
and it's just, but it is exactly, it's the same wording. Oh, what did you need? And then you just go, what did you need to tell your dad? What was the impact? There's heaps and heaps. It's finding what is the wording. One of the ladies is, she could never. She's in her 70s now, and she could never, really speak up to the family because younger, she feared losing her father's love. And so every time she spoke up and told her truth, it, no, don't do that. And when it came down to, it was, the father's love or the father's, he would just look down on her or whatever. And that's why, then she would attract the stuff. She's got ulcers, just so many things because she can't get that last thing. But when we did one of the sessions, it was like, is that true? Is that how it is now? How can we resolve it? How is this impacted? And it's just a big long list of how it's impacted. So what could you do now to move forward? But you can't receive anything in the same mindset of how it happened. When you change it, replace it, move it forward, that's when the universe actually gives you whatever's there. I say it like a spiritual bank account. So on a spiritual level, what you give out, you must receive back. So it's an energy exchange. But if you're a little kid, like I was, I should say, I could never get it right. I was never good enough. I was like, no, not good enough. Jump higher. And so I just gave up. But spirit sees that over the whole time. And so the energy is that you need to receive back is on an energy bank account. Then when you're doing this
So
work,
so what you're saying is that the conditioning that you had, it was, I'm never good enough, and
Mm.
this program just continued to run. I'm never good enough. I'm never good enough. It doesn't matter what I do. I'm never good enough. I will never be good enough. So that was what you personally had to go, or one of the things that you personally had to go
Mm.
back and heal
Yes.
for that wounded inner child in order for you to be a fully functional grown woman. Is that right?
Yes, yes. But when you
Okay.
go reparenting, you go back into the memory, you allow the child to do whatever, then you stand behind as the adult and you say, this never happens again. You speak up for your child because nobody was in your corner when you have a look at it. And then your inner child comes back into your heart space and your adult says, I'm looking after you now. The nervous system goes, oh, okay, I trust you. When you move forward, when that's complete, things come into your life, people come into your life because it's finished. The spiritual bank account has always been sitting there waiting for you to come together and then that you are good enough. This is what's been waiting for you, but you can't receive it. I really want to go back. I want that, but you can't have it because you're in the wrong energy field. When you do the completion, when your inner child, dissolving that memory, replacing it with whatever it is, connecting to your higher self, moving forward, people, it's like, oh, you told, when they finish the session, I'll say, look, just be open and say yes. If anybody offers anything, you just say yes. If they offer you a compliment, if they offer you whatever it is, just say yes. And they go, oh, because normally we go, no, I don't need it, no. And they're just amazed. They're just going, because I said, we don't know the spiritual side in there. Once you've finished and cycle complete, energetically, spiritually, it will go into whatever is on the outside. Somebody will offer you, and so it's cycle complete. Somebody was given finally got a check for, it's $1,000 or something, and she's just going, oh my God. Somebody else has had, offers of whatever. Somebody else has had relationships, or somebody else has come into their life, or somebody's come from the past into their life because they've gone up to a different level. But
Yeah,
whatever's been
okay.
sitting comes back
Yeah.
into your life.
Okay. So I know you've offered here something very, very generous. You've got a free first step to soul freedom call, so
Yes.
people can actually get like an initial the ability to connect with you, which is incredibly generous. So I'll put that link in the description so people can take
Yeah.
advantage of that.
Yeah.
And if people, I actually question, obviously it depends on the amount of trauma, the level of trauma, the years of trauma, the
Mm.
different trauma. But
Yeah.
do you have like a certain number of sessions that you find where
Mm.
people have the greatest benefit? So
Yes.
I
Mm.
understand that people would start to feel relief after an initial session, but how many sessions does it normally take before people feel really kind of like liberated in their life?
Yeah. I usually say 3 to 6 months in it. And like you said, after the first session is great, second, but what happens is then you start going back into your old. The old goes, are you sure you really want to change? This is so much easier just to go back there. And that's your spiritual side is going, no, I've got something better. I've got something better. But your old trauma brain is going, no, we like status quo. We like the comfort zone. It's too dangerous out there. It's like, if you can get past that and keep going, it is actually huge open. But it's more reprogramming and being able to, what else is coming up in that 3 months? What else is coming up in that 6 months that we can work together? Because it's just like weeds. It's, oh my God, this is happening. This is happening. The reason why I ask for a call is that you need to, as you're doing the inner child stuff, your body needs to feel safe with the person. If they don't feel safe, they will never take you down to the depths of whatever it is. So you've got to be able to feel safe. And sometimes I can pick it up. Sometimes, we're really not in alignment. But that's the main thing. If your heart and your body feel safe with the therapist, you will get to the depths quite easily. If they don't feel safe, it'll just start playing games with you. Oh no, we'll go over here. We've got to do this. Because again, it goes back into the old programming, holding you back, and you don't need to. Liberation, freedom, to really live the life on your terms. Especially the
Absolutely.
fawn,
Yeah.
like the fawn and freeze. Oh my goodness, to get out there and go, oh wow, it really feels like coming out of a cage or coming out of a prison. Like, oh my God, I'm not gonna, I can do this. Oh wow, and
So
or
many more
even
possibilities.
yeah,
So
or
many
even
more
coming out of a
possibilities.
coma, and it's just beautiful. But like I
Yeah.
said, it's usually 3 to 6 months with it, and people are getting so many more results rather than wherever they've been before, the mainstream stuff. And that's all it is. And once you have that freedom and liberation, then your spirit guides, connecting, that takes you into so many different places. Relationships, it could be the health, it could be wealth, whatever it is able to then set you free, being true and authentic. Wouldn't it be great? Like, finally, after all these years, that you go, oh my God, I can really say what I want. I can do what I want. And people are not going to object. They're not going to cut you off or attack you. It's like, that I really like you. I really love this. I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
Different.
Wow.
Yeah. New story for you.
So people get to live in their authentic truth, to be
Yes.
their authentic selves, and to flourish moving
Oh,
forward
yeah.
without being held back by that wounded inner child, which is pretty amazing. So
Yes.
you've also got, if people want to get a free download from you,
Yes.
it's an ebook. Is it a free ebook or it's an ebook?
It's an ebook. It's a free
It's an
ebook.
ebook.
This one.
Okay,
Yes.
so Embracing the Light Within, Healing Your Shadow workbook. So people can actually go
Yes.
through your workbook to sort of uncover some of this stuff for themselves.
Yes. Yes,
That's really
absolutely.
amazing. Okay,
Yes.
so the link to
Mm.
that will also be in the description below for those who want it. So before we wrap it up for today, it's been incredible doing this exploration with you. What are some simple things that you recommend? Obviously, people can download the workbook, but what are some simple things that people can do to be able to start doing a little bit of their own healing of changing these dysfunctional cycles that they might be experiencing in their lives?
Yeah. Is I like the moon ceremonies, as in the full moon and new moon, but journaling. Start journaling. But don't be reading the journal. It's like when something's coming up, write down how you're feeling, what else is coming up, who do they remind you of, but you're just free writing. At the end of it, and this is what it talks about, write and burn. It's like dumping it, letting it go, releasing it so that it doesn't become a magnet for you. So journaling it out, write and burn. Do not keep it if it's negative. And then you have a gratitude journal at the end of the day. What can I see? What gives me joy? Asking for your heart. What gives me joy today? And then allow yourself, you're looking for more joy rather than your old patterns. I'm looking to not get into a fight with or having to stand up for myself, because the brain thinks that's all I want. What do I want? What gives me joy? So the next day that you wake up, well, how can I get more of, show me more, show me more joy, show me more happiness. And you're starting to keep going. You're doing that journaling. You're allowing yourself, I'm really angry at this person, and you're dumping it, you're releasing it. What would I like in place? Just even, how can, choosing freedom and liberation to live my life. How do I need to be
Journaling is such
liberated?
a powerful tool. Really is.
Absolutely.
Journaling is such
Yeah.
a powerful
You
tool.
can even get guidance, your guidance, what you need to do, where you need to go, but you're making that connection. You're expressing your truth, you're speaking your truth on that journaling.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Bernie. It's been very enlightening. And
Thank
people,
you.
I highly recommend that you go and download the workbook. And instead of going through all the other therapists and trying all the things and leaving Bernie as like the last resort, how about you just shortcut the whole process, go straight to Bernie, and she'll get you right. She'll help to heal those those inner child traumas for you, so you can leave the past in the past and get on with being your best, most powerful and authentic self. So thank you very much again, Bernie. Is there any words of wisdom that you would like to leave our audience with before we wrap it up today?
It's really, being able to, breaking free of any past trauma to live life on your terms, not being that puppet, not being, having all of a sudden take over the acting role of this is who I am. It's like, oh my God, I direct it. I choose it. It's just so freeing is all I can say. It's just wonderful.
Beautiful.
Waking up from
That's
a
what we want.
coma.
We want freedom and liberation from all the crap that's holding us back so we can get on with living our best lives.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's live the life you love and love the life you live.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great. I love it. I love it.
Yes.
All right. Thank you again, Bernie. Thank you so much, audience, for being here with us today. And remember to catch up with Bernie at those links down in the description below. I will see you on another authentic podcast very soon. Cheers. Bye, Bernie.
Thanks a lot, Marguerita. Bye.